It is the time of the week for our rankings of running backs and wide receivers for week 6. It was I feel like it was easier than last week. I know you weren't here last week, but a couple, I don't know. I feel like I'm, just beating a dead horse over and over with some of these players. But you guys always know, as you know, our number one overall tier. I have Derrick Henry, Saquon, Kamara. That all makes sense, right? All those guys are like top 5 or they've all been number 1 overall before. And then I have Bijan and Brees Hall. I just keep on doing it. I keep on, maybe I'm trying to will it into existence a little bit, but I don't know. I think Bijan with the matchup against the Panthers is key. So
yeah, I was gonna say they both have plus matchups basically. Yeah. So we shall see, or it hit the panic alarm, I guess.
Yeah, and it's a little bit of offensive coordinator change for the Jets, and maybe they kind of like, all right, we need to get Brees going type of thing. So that's my hope at least. And then the no-brainers, a couple of these guys, you can make an argument they can move up into that tier. Jahmyr Gibbs is always potential to go off, but oddly enough, hasn't caught the ball in the last couple of weeks. Josh Jacobs, it's a guy that's getting like 20 touches more often than not. James Conner, Chuba Hubbard, who's been awesome, David Montgomery, Pollard with a plus matchup and who's also been pretty good. And then back from the dead, DeAndre Swift, almost cutting the guy to now he's a no-brainer. This is fantasy in a nutshell, right? We go from hating the guy to almost cutting him after 3 weeks to now he's like a no-brainer start, in my opinion, also because he has a plus matchup. So any thoughts you want to touch on with those guys?
Yeah, well, I mean, with the DeAndre Swift thing, for sure, it's, we've seen it the last few weeks, but also the Chicago offense is running a little bit better now, which, that's to be expected with Caleb at the helm, kind of, like he's only going to get better, so.
For sure.
A few weeks in, they're looking a lot better, that's for sure.
Yeah. And it's nice because they have a really good schedule for fantasy and scoring. Jags, Commanders, Cardinals are the next 3 weeks, including this week. So they have a pretty nice little stretch, including the previous 2 weeks. So that's kind of it for my no-brainers here. And we're going to be adjusting because we're getting news as we come in. I actually don't know where I put my phone, so you might. Oh, I found it. I was going to say you have to be on top of that, but we got news as I was making this and all of that. One of them is this one. I thought Zach Moss was going to miss the game. Apparently he's not going to miss the game. So I had this in the RB2 with upside tier. I think J.K. Dobbins belongs there. Trey Sermon because JT's out. Dobbins because Gus Edwards, I think, is going to miss the game. And then I had Chase Brown here, but I think Zach Moss is going to play. So where do we, I guess we could talk about where to move Chase Brown, or should we move Chase Brown out of here with Zach Moss in there?
Yeah, it's kind of tough because Brown's kind of looked like he was taken over a little bit there these last couple of weeks. Still not necessarily like fully the guy, but because Moss didn't miss last week, did he? He just got hurt.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Chase Brown's just looked better, even though like the splits are still kind of going in Moss's favor.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It could be one of those weeks where you start to see it go the other way, but I feel like, let's see. Sorry, what category is he in? RB2 with upside. Yeah,
we can move him.
He probably just goes down to flex then, I would say.
Probably. I guess we'll move him. We'll move him out for now and revisit it. I don't know if I can move him down, but I can. So we only have 2 guys, the RB2 with upside. So now, again, if you're new to this, these aren't necessarily like I'm saying this is tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. It's more about grouping these guys into the type of player they are, the type of situation they find themselves in. Like this next group, you can make an argument for all these guys over, the guys that are technically above. I'm not trying to say start J.K. Dobbins over Brian Robinson, he might not even play himself. So I don't know if we got official words there, but these are all guys that I kind of want to start. Well, Ramondre's out, so we can move him out of there. Brian Robinson, who's been awesome, but has a tough matchup. Unfortunately, he's playing Baltimore. That's one of the toughest, right? James Cook. James Cook is a guy you want to start, but he's playing the Jets. Rico Dowdle, who seems to be kind of taking a hold of that. I think he had 15 carries last week with maybe a couple catches, but he's playing probably the best run defense in Detroit in the league. So it's just a little bit scary to start him. And then Javonte Williams playing the Chargers. I don't know how tough that is yet. I'm still a little bit skeptical there, but early season from what we have is saying it's tough. So any of those guys you're like not even caring about this tough matchup, you're starting, no question.
I mean, James Cook is in that category, right? Like no one's benching him.
No, but he's also beat up too himself. He's back to back Thursday, Friday, did not practice. So
yeah, hopefully it's just like a vet rest kind of a thing. I know that usually doesn't carry over into Friday as much.
It says a toe. They play Monday too, so so they have a Saturday practice, so that would be key.
Yeah, I think him and Brian Robinson are. I think you're still going to roll with them. I do think Robinson's is very scary for sure, like given the matchup. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I'm kind of interested to see what Washington does with like a real tough matchup kind of a thing, like against Baltimore.
Yeah.
Like, you think Jaden Daniels ends up looking more like a rookie this year or week?
I thought that was going to happen last week. It was last week they played Cleveland, and then obviously that didn't happen. But we'll see. I think he will. Ravens make everyone look a little bit like a rookie, so I still think you're starting them and all these guys, and they could be good. But yeah, I think there's a good chance. We have to see it at least once, right? Like it's kind of crazy how he's starting off. By the way, Brian Robinson is a 3 straight did not practice, so we'll talk about Eckler when we get to him and where he should go up to if Brian Robinson's out. But yeah, all these guys, tough matchups. Don't mind starting them because they're getting some volume. They're getting some work, even Javonte and Rico Dowdle. Then we have 2 guys that like have been super disappointing. They have great matchups. Najee seemingly he has all the carries. I think he's like top 5 in the NFL in touches. Hasn't had more than 80 or 85 total yards. I don't think he's really scored a touchdown either. Maybe he has 1. Travis Etienne's been a huge disappointment. He's beat up too. Like all these guys are beat up, but he's been playing. He started off the year okay, like as a top 24 guy. Last 2 weeks have not been as good. I don't know. They have really good matchups where I'm okay with starting them again, especially given the week and we have bye weeks and we're losing Ramondre, we're losing Brian Robinson, we're losing, all these guys. So, I don't know if you have any thoughts on either one of those guys. They've just been really big, especially Etienne, a huge disappointment.
Yeah, definitely a disappointment for where you drafted him for sure. Like,
yeah,
he's basically like a flex play at this point, not like in terms of like what points he's giving you kind of a thing, like you're not really happy starting him as because he probably got drafted as your RB1. Obviously he couldn't be RB2. Like he was going in that mid-second round though. So yeah, definitely not returning in that sense. But I don't know what you're gonna do. Like I'm sure you're gonna roll him out there. Trying to look up Chicago. Okay. Because like it does say it's a good matchup for running backs. I wonder if that's just because like their defense is so good against the receivers, and that's like the only way people are like making any kind of leeway on them. So
I think it is. So I think like Houston was like that one year, a couple years ago, where it's like it was like the opposite though. Like everyone ran on them, so quarterbacks didn't put up points. Like you get one of those teams almost every year. It feels like so
for sure.
Yeah. next guys I have as flexes, and I put the wrong picture here. Well, actually, I can put both these guys. It's Singletary and Tyrone Tracy. I think can both be flex. Singletary was limited 3 straight. He's questionable. So if he doesn't go, like Tyrone Tracy is like RB2 with upside, in my opinion. How are you feeling with those two guys if they're both active? Do you want to like bench both of them? Do you want to okay with flexing both of them, or Singletary or Tracy? Do you like one more than the other? Or?
I think until we see them both play together, I think you just go back to Singletary. I'm fine with flexing either one, but I would definitely give the nod to Singletary. But I mean, it's kind of hard to, you can't put it back in the box kind of a thing, what Tracy did last week, with Singletary. And I feel like it's kind of hard to like make this leap, but I was gonna say, like, we don't see a lot of like running back by committee in the Giants in the past, but a lot of that gets thrown out because it's like, well, they had Saquon Barkley, so of course, he was the dude there. And this could definitely be different. But I'm still going to give the nod to Tracy to Singletary for a week. But I get it if you want to try and hit that home run with your flex position, like Tracy could be the guy. Like, the nice thing is like you don't really have to start him most likely given where you took him. I don't know. I don't see him here on the list. But someone that we skipped with RB2 with upside is Trey Sermon. Oh, wait, he's actually in that category.
I put him here. I just said JT's out. I think there wasn't really much to add there. I think we kind of, even though he kind of has a tough matchup with the Titans. So
and it looks like Richardson's going to start most likely.
Yeah, which. Who knows if that's good or bad? I don't know. It's probably bad, right?
I wouldn't think it was good necessarily.
No. And then I have Eckler in here. He's probably moves up even higher. Honestly, like I'll be interested to see. Jeremy McNichol should probably be on this list as well as like a flex if Brian Robinson's out, because he looks good when one of those two guys are out, or even when all three of them were out there last week. McNichol still looked good. So I'd be more comfortable with Eckler as like a potential RB2 with upside, or maybe some kind of category in between that. But, Alexander Madison, I think Zamir White's going to miss another week. Alexander Madison, I believe, had like 15 carries last week. Yeah, 15 carries and 2 catches. That's always going to be flex worthy, no matter how good or bad the running back is. So he only put up 38 yards, but on the ground, and then 23 more through the air, but still, like, it's hard to find 17 touches for running back. So, and then Tajay Spears, like, he might even be a little bit better than that if they kind of dedicate like they did last. They were on a bye last week, but in week 4, if you remember, Pollard had 22 carries. Spears had 15. Like, they just ran the ball like crazy. So I think that's how they want to go. I'll just put him in the flex there for now until I see that happen a little bit more consistently. So. I
do like that. Like, I think it's going to be it's going to be hard to trust Tajay after one game like that, because he was kind of irrelevant the entire rest of the season so far, weeks 1 through 3. So it's going to be a little tough. And he's definitely more attractive in full PPR for sure, because he does seem to be getting those balls. But it's funny because, it's not like it's only him and not Pollard kind of a thing. But I just got to imagine that was a little bit more matchup based playing Miami before the bye. So not that this week couldn't be more of that same, so.
Well, Colts, I think, are like the number 1 team to target.
Right.
That's who they're playing. So in the run game. So I think both these guys could be good. And then, I think we should add Chase Brown there. I think that's okay. And I guess Zach Moss, we'll just throw both into flexes. I don't think you can really put him anywhere else as of now, because there could be a little bit of a, the passing of the ships or whatever that expression is, they're kind of handing the keys over to Chase Brown a little bit more. So
I think Gibson moves up into this spot too, like
that's
with
fair.
Ramondre out.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
like
Totally right.
I don't think he's quite RB2 with upside. Like maybe that he's somewhere in between those two, right? Like the matchup's
Yeah,
tough
exactly.
against Houston. Yeah, so
It's like him and Eckler deserve to be like in a little tier right here or something, where it's just like not quite RB2 with upside, but they're a little bit better than flexes in my opinion. So
I mean, he could be the tough matchup. That might just fit both of them actually pretty well, given they do have tough matchups.
Yeah, that works too. I'll put them in the A team because their names both start with A. So that's creativity on the fly. I have the 12 touchers here. I actually I just completely forgot about Rachaad White in his picture. So I'm sorry. I left Kenneth Walker in here. That messed up my numbers, and I thought I had it all right. But Bucky Irving and Rachaad White, I think, kind of belong in here now. We've seen it for a couple of weeks. Both those guys are touching the ball about 12-ish times a game with a couple of catches. I think you could start those during, desperate times and bye weeks and stuff. But
Rachaad White's listed as doubtful.
Well, there you go. If he doesn't play, then
he's Bucky moves up. I'd say Bucky moves up into the RB2 with upside if Rachaad White doesn't play. That was 41 minutes ago from Fantasy Pros. So
yeah, I 100% on that. There.
You got to remember too, the Saints are going to be starting Spencer Rattler this week.
Yep.
And so if they're not even able to put up any points, like how much are you really going to have to do through the air to division rival, you want to definitely set the tone coming off a couple of hard losses, over the last 3 weeks. So yeah, you got something to prove. But I don't think you're gonna have to shove it down their throats necessarily. It might not be that hard.
Yeah, I agree. RB2 with upside if Rachaad White's out. So man, so many people are hurt that I didn't even realize were hurt. It's crazy. But then Jerome Ford and Tank Bigsby, they just don't seem to want to use Jerome Ford as a workhorse, and that offense is terrible. And then Bigsby's ETN's a little banged up. So I think both those guys you can definitely get away with flexing and starting this week. So and then just two more tiers here. We have the life's tough tier. Like if you're starting these guys, it's tough for you. I mean, Braylon Allen, you just know he could get 5 touches, he could get 12 touches. We just don't really know. He could get 2 touchdowns, he can get nothing. Roshan has 3 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. Gibson, we already moved out. Justice Hill, you're really banking on the right game script or a big touchdown play. Dante Foreman, him and Ford are kind of unfortunately they kind of make each other a little bit irrelevant. And then Tyler Algier, I think, is actually probably the one that I like the most out of this, just because they're playing Carolina and they could just dominate on the ground. But is there one guy here, for the sake of time, one guy do you want to comment on here?
I'll just go ahead and say Justice Hill is he's like you mentioned game script, and that's why he ended up winning me the Hail Mary pick a couple of weeks ago in our weekly competition. But it wasn't even the right script. It's just you just don't know when he's gonna be the guy. So I don't know. You could start him in a pinch. I know
PPR
my
only.
wife is this week, just out of pure necessity. And like you said, it only takes one catch to go for 30 plus yards and a touchdown, but it's just there's no way to predict it.
Yeah, I mean, he is on pace for almost 60 catches. So in PPR, that is gonna be flex worthy for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
And then my last year was Houston's a mess, and it made then we got the news that Mixon's gonna play. I think you just start Mixon. Obviously, all these other guys, Akers, Pierce, Agumbawale. I was gonna say Agumbawale is the one that I would start if Mixon wasn't playing, just because he can catch passes. But I think it's just you kind of start Mixon, and I guess I'm gonna put Mixon as a flex because I don't know how much they're gonna just hand him the ball? Like, are they gonna like limit him because he missed what 2-3 weeks? So I don't
Yeah,
know.
he's missed 3.
Anywhere you would put Mixon?
Probably RB2 with upside. Even though, yeah, like if he's kind of back and like actually gets the full allotment of snaps, he obviously, I mean, that's where the upside comes from, right? Like we've seen it, like we've seen his usage only in week 1, but he's definitely the guy. I don't think he's going to get 30 rush attempts like he did in week 1, but he will dominate if he's fully healthy. So I think RB2 with upside is probably correct.
Yeah, I was just hedging my bets a little bit that like maybe they limit him a bit coming back and because it felt like he wasn't even going to play this week. So it's like if he was like full practice and ready to go, but I guess he is ready to go. So I mean, they wouldn't put him out there if he's not. I don't really see why they would kind of have that need to. So yeah, that makes sense. I agree with you. If he's like fully there, he's even closer to the no brainer. But did not practice, limited. I don't know. But I'm not going to argue too much there. So into the wide receivers we go. Number 1 overall, it's the guys it's CeeDee Lamb, it's Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra, Jaden Reed I put in here. I believe I got that picture right. I always confuse the Packers receivers because there's always a bunch of them. And then Drake London. Maybe A.J. Brown should be here. I don't know. I put Jaden Reed because I like the matchup. Drake London, I mean, you start looking at it now, and like because we got that boom week, now you're looking at it, it's like, wow, like he's really good. He's like top, I think he's wide receiver 8 on the year in half PPR, wide receiver 4 if you take out week 1. So yeah. And then I'll let you talk on those if you want, but just real quick, the no-brainers, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Godwin, DJ Moore, Stephon Diggs, especially with Nico out. Marvin Harrison Jr. I still have in here, although he's been not as good as we thought to start the year at least. Mike Evans, even though he does have a tough matchup, I'm not really benching Mike Evans, T. Higgins, and Terry McLaurin. So any 1 or 2 guys in that first 2 tiers you want to disagree? Tell me I'm wrong somewhere.
No, not really. I mean, it's interesting that we got 2 Bears guys there now, now that they're starting to roll a little bit. Like Diggs, like we've seen, like he is obviously like an integral part of the offense. Yeah, and they roll, so I was like looking at their depth chart right now. I'm like, why does this look so weird? Yeah, because no Nico.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. He was on pace for a crazy, even last week when he like barely played.
I said 2 Bears guys, but that's not even right.
I didn't even catch that, but
yeah. It's because I was looking at Eckler, like to see not Eckler. Jesus, I cannot get any of this correct today.
DJ Moore and Stephon Diggs confuse you or something? Or
yeah, something. I don't know. It's hot in the office, I guess. It's cooking my brain a little bit.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's funny that like I feel like there's not really, that's kind of it for no-brainers, like in my opinion. Again, bye weeks and stuff like that, Justin Jefferson and some others, but only like 14 guys I feel like super confident in like playing this week in particular. I don't know, that's just kind of, it's a little bit sad. I'm going to actually move this down and start with the great matchups. Just 2 guys who like I just want to highlight. I think they have really good matchups, and people might be a little bit worried about Zay Flowers and Olave, especially Olave with the Spencer Rattler and stuff like that. But I do think the Buccaneers are a pretty good matchup. And Rattler said the right thing. He's going to like feed. He kind of said it. He's going to feed Olave. So we'll see if he does. And then Baltimore against Washington. Washington's just one of those teams you want to target, Washington, the Rams, Jaguars, to start the year. So I feel confident in those 2 guys. They're kind of almost no-brainers because of that, but I think there is some hesitation. Flowers hasn't produced like how we liked, and Olave with Rattler. So, and then I'll just real quick, the tough matchup guys, and then we can kind of group those together. Garrett Wilson and Brian Thomas. We saw the big game from Garrett Wilson, although, 22 targets to give you barely over 100 yards. Still a little disappointing, but he had like 13 catches, so that helps a lot. Brian Thomas has been awesome this year, way better than I thought to start the year. I think he's a top 10 wide receiver, which is kind of crazy. But playing the Bears. That being said, the Bears have a couple cornerbacks. Their best cornerback, I think, is going to miss, Tyreek Stevenson. And I think another one of their cornerbacks is going to miss. So that could make it a little bit easier for sure. But anything you want to add to those guys? Are you still kind of starting these guys? No brainer. I guess Zay Flowers shouldn't be considered a no brainer because he hasn't produced like that. But yeah, go ahead and talk.
Yeah, I think, Brian Thomas is quickly moving up into that category. Like he's got the target share, like he is like the number one dude on the team. And yeah, I think it's going to be interesting, like you said, with the tough matchups, but the corners out. Like I think you're starting him no matter what. After this week, like you said, top 10 receiver so far. Like I don't think anyone really saw that one coming. I know some people were kind of high on him, but I mean, to be doing this early in your career, not just being the deep threat guy kind of a thing.
That's how I thought he was going to be. And Trevor Lawrence hasn't really played well until last week. Like it's not like Lawrence is lighting it up.
Oh, so. I know. Trust me.
Yeah. Real quick, Brian Thomas, just quickly looking at like the top 15 guys, like him and Godwin are like the only two that haven't had a bust game. 7.3 in half PPR is Brian Thomas's lowest game. I don't really consider that a bust. Everyone else has either missed a game or has had a game like below 6 points, which I do consider a bust. So just throwing that out there. But go ahead.
I'm really sad that I made an offer for in one of my dynasty leagues that I'm not competitive in, like after week 2, after that 2 for 94 game for Brian Thomas. Like I was gonna give up Jordan Mason to a guy who's very much a contender. I was like, I just need to get something for him. So high round 2, back end of round 1 rookie pick who hadn't done it yet, and now it's just that ain't happening.
No, he's like top 7 in keep trade cut or top 10 at least.
Yeah,
so.
And I think the guy even said like, let me just wait one more week, and I was like, all right, yeah, that's fine. And he didn't even have that big of a game, but just that target share in week 3 was just kind of like, oh no.
Yeah,
he looks the really train. Good.
Yeah. Wide receiver 2s with upside. I mean, Deontay had a down week, but he could just, get a huge target share from Dalton. Jameson Williams, I think, still kind of belongs in here. He's been a little bit, I think, disappointing the last couple of weeks. Oh, he had a 15-point week before the bye. Oh, yeah, he had that one big catch. A little bit concerning with the target share and stuff. And then Darnell Mooney, man, we brought him up, I think, after week 2, and it's like, this guy's going to be legit, I think, this year. I think he's going to be a top 24, top 30 guy. So as of right now, where he stands, he's in the top 15. We've seen upside, 27 points last week. So this is where I have him for now until we see otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, we just keep seeing it kind of a thing, definitely. I guess the upside was proved last week, but I mean, 16 targets, that was based on what, like a 500-yard game from Cousins, 50 pass attempts. So
yeah, something
like I don't think that's gonna happen. 58. So wow. that's just crazy.
But even you look before that, 6, 8, 7, right? Like those are
really I definitely. I was just commenting on like the upside part of it. Definitely like a good wide receiver too. But yeah, like I said, like the upside we saw last week. But I don't know how much of that you're gonna get, but like based on where you drafted him and stuff, like he's an obvious start, like, and you're happy to do it.
Yeah, for sure. Boom bust guys. Some of these guys haven't even boomed, so I don't even know why I'm still putting them in this tier. But Pickens is one of those guys, but we know he's capable. He has a good matchup. Again, it's more for this week how I'm looking at it, but Amari Cooper is 4th most targets in the NFL, and like 45% of them are uncatchable. It's just a hole there. I hope he gets traded. Tank Dell has been a huge disappointment, and I kind of forgot this until one of our podcasts brought it up. He did get shot in the offseason. Like, I kind of completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
And he had that injury that Pollard had, and it took him till like week 10 of last year to say he was like fully back. Andrews had got that last year. We see what Andrews is doing. So maybe we should pay a little bit more attention to that stuff. Shaheed is the ultimate boom bust, especially with Rattler there. Dontavian Wicks, I still like, and a pretty good matchup. Calvin Ridley, I'll throw in here. And Alec Pierce, like the guy, he's probably the one that's consistently booming out of all these guys. 20, 14, and 20 points in 3 of 5 weeks. So, any disagreements with these boom bust guys?
I'm looking forward to hopefully a good game from Ridley. Hopefully that's what we see. Given the matchup and everything, it's about as good as it can get. We want to see another one of those 20+ point weeks like we saw in week 2, and just have been waiting for ever since. It's tough. I really hope Tank Dell has a good week. So if he doesn't have a good week this week without Nico there, I guess he'll have a few weeks without him, right? Because Nico's on IR. So
Nico wasn't there last week, basically. Nico played like 13% of the snaps last week.
Yeah, I know. It's like, what the hell, man? Get it together.
They used Xavier Hutchinson, who was a rookie last year, I believe. Or is he a rookie this year? I can't remember. But they used him more, in the Nico role. And Tank Dell's role didn't really change, which is a little bit concerning for his upside. But I agree. I think the injury is playing a little bit more into it than we, it's just something I didn't really hear anyone talk about, including myself. So
sure. Amari Cooper really does scare me, but like you said, top 5 in targets. Yeah, it's just so much. You kind of have to start him, but it's just man, I think the Eagles are just going to eat the Browns alive.
Probably.
But that means more throwing, just more shitty throwing.
Yeah. Safe floor guys, and I'm not trying to say these guys don't have upside, because I think there is some upside here. Wandale, he's good. Again, I think we brought him up after week 1. I was like, did you know that Wandale had 11 targets? It was just one of those things, and then he kind of just kept it up. He's wide receiver 23 on the season in half PPR, even probably a few spots up in PPR. Christian Kirk is getting things going the last couple of weeks. Josh Downs, I thought with no Pittman, but Michael Pittman magically recovered after missing multiple weeks, and I don't know what's going on there. Jacoby Myers should have a safe floor, being the number 1 option there. And then Alan Lazard is just one of those things, we just got to kind of accept it. Just like with Mooney, it's he's the wide receiver 19 on the year. He's had 3 double-digit point weeks. He's had 1 24-point week. He's had a bust week, and then he had an 8.3 week. So literally 4 of his 5 games, you were happy with what you were getting from Lazard. So I think these guys have safe floor, and there's always a little bit of upside.
Yeah, for sure. And it'll be interesting to see what the Jets do against Buffalo. I think the game script's going to favor the Lazard a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I can totally see that.
I think you're right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and with Wandale, I don't think you mentioned it, but Neighbors has been ruled out, didn't he? Yeah. So, there you go. Do it again, Wandale.
Yeah, I think it's funny. I don't even know if my opinion changes of him. I almost think I like it a little bit more if Neighbors is out there, but he could. The guy's going to get 5-6 catches, and we'll see how many yards he gets. So he did catch a touchdown last week.
You just like Darius Slayton way more now that Neighbors is out?
Yeah. We'll have to talk about him because that's someone I need help with. Great matchups part 2, but these guys are the other guys you're basically starting. These guys, I don't know. We just haven't seen it at all or not enough. Keenan Allen, we haven't seen anything this year except for an 11 target game. Didn't turn into anything. Hopkins, I think we've seen 1 good game and 3 bad ones. But they have good matchups. Jalen Tolbert's an interesting one. We saw him produce last week. He could maybe move up into like a safe floor possibly. Roma Dunze, I think we've seen one good game. So tell me what you think about Jalen Tolbert. Had a good game. Cooks is going to be out in a while. He's on a good offense. Like, you think he could be kind of like, 3 wide receiver leagues you're starting him?
Yeah, I think like in a pinch, like he's definitely like a guy you picked up off the waiver wire after like Cooks got ruled out, and it was like, oh yeah, cool. Like we had a good target share and, like he's definitely involved, actually out targeted CD Lamb. So
what a bum.
CD Lamb sucks. No.
To add to that real quick, he was a 3rd round pick a couple years ago, just didn't really get it going. And they were hyping him up in training camp. So like that, I think there is something here. I don't think it's just a random, I know you're not saying that, but just in general, I think it's not a random thing.
It's going to be tough to really know. I mean, like I said, like in a pinch, like I'm sure he's flex worthy in a 3 receiver league. Yeah. But yeah, like if he doesn't have a good game this week, what do you even think about him? Because he had a good game last week. If he has a bad game this week and then he's on a bye, it's kind of like, well, shit. Like,
yeah,
how do you even like process that? Like, but if he has, like, I think we'll know a lot more after this week. But obviously, you won't be able to. If you don't start him this week, you're not starting him until week 8 against San Francisco, and I don't know if that's the best move either. He's definitely a tough one for sure.
I like the the Lions matchup. Could be a little bit of a shootout. You can't really run on the Lions, so I think it all kind of adds up to potentially another good game for Jalen Tolbert. So the next tier I have some guys I think that have some like good usage and maybe we don't realize. Michael Wilson, he's on pace for like 90 targets. He has averaging about 4 catches a game. So he's on pace for like 70 catches and, a decent season. And, if that offense gets going a little bit more. And then both Sutton and McConkey have like I think both of them have over 27% target share, which is usually what you want. Anything over 25% is really good. So both those guys they just on teams that don't really throw it a lot. So just wanted to kind of throw that out there. Like they have good usage and you're going to see good games from them. If that keeps up, it's just a little bit maybe hard to predict.
Yeah. Michael Wilson, I think he's like, this means he'll have a good game. I was gonna say he's borderline, like he's basically droppable, like you said, like he is getting, I don't know. I mean, like he's on pace for what, like 650 yards or something, like nothing really exciting.
734. Thank you very much.
Wait, what? 5. I just multiplied it by 3. I guess that's why I was like, I guess. All right. Well, still not exciting. And
yeah, I just see like 2, 5 for 78, 8 for 64, and then 3 straight weeks of 9, 7, and 6 targets. So I don't know. I usually guys that are getting. Basically, what's he averaging 8 targets a game? Like, are usually guys you want to, you're thinking about starting potentially.
Yeah, sure. If you say so. I mean, I think I might even have him on my team. So whatever.
Yeah. I did drop him too, which is funny. Like I had him and then I dropped him. So in a pretty deep league, but I don't know. Just wanted to highlight those guys. Can see a dart throw here. Like if you're really desperate. Leggett, who got hurt last week, we saw his rookie breakout 2 weeks ago, got hurt pretty early on last week, and so he had a bad game last week. But who knows? We could still see that happen. Trey Tucker, I think he's actually a decent wide receiver. He's probably the second option, or he is the second option. Well, a wide receiver on the Raiders, while Adams, goes through his shit. Rashad Bateman, I can see a dart throw this week. I know it's crazy, but playing the Commanders, all he needs is one big catch. He did have 8 targets last week. It wasn't a game where they threw a lot, but Quentin Johnston and Romeo Doubs, I'm always going to throw in there, potential squeaky wheel game, but also a player who's on a good offense. Like a guy, go back. A guy who's going to play a lot. He's going to run the most routes probably out of any Packers receiver, and he's on a good offense. He's always going to, every now and then he's going to have a good game. So, did I say Quentin Johnston? I can't believe I don't even know what to do with Quentin Johnston, but
yeah, you don't do anything with Quentin Johnston. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, if he's not getting a touchdown, he's not helping you at all, you know, and it's like, he's a tight end, basically. You know?
And he might get Patrick Surtain might cover him, which I don't know why he would, but he might.
Yeah. It's like, whatever. Suck it. I mean, yeah, sorry to say, but yeah, just, I mean, you know, the Chargers have just been bad so far, like fantasy-wise. So hopefully Herbert, after his week of rest, is feeling a little better and a little more sure-footed, I guess. But I mean, they're just so run-heavy. Like, it's just
this game's gonna be gross. It's gonna set football back 40 years. Like, all the boomers are gonna be like, "Yeah, run the ball and play defense." Like, no one wants to freaking watch this shit. Like, I don't want to watch a 10-7 game. Like, God, you know. But yeah, this is what we love. Sure you do. I'm gonna make all boomers out there. You have to watch that game from start to finish. Another life's tough. I don't know why.
You're alienating our audience.
I know, right? I do have our biggest. I think it's 18 to 35 is our age range, our biggest age range. So
yeah, I was gonna say I don't think they know how to use a computer anyway. So
yeah, I know. No, we love you guys.
The boomers, I mean.
It's more. We're just more taking shots at our father, who you guys know, and without.
Yeah, I know. I kind of wish he was here to hear this, but whatever.
Yeah. Another life stuff. Like, if you're starting these guys, I feel bad for you. You know, Judy, Coleman, Ray-Ray McLeod, all have something. They've done something, but I don't really. I'm just throwing them out there as this is desperation flex stuff. Before we get to we need
Jerry Judy and Michael Wilson stats are basically exactly the same.
But one plays with Deshaun Watson and the other one has Kyler Murray. So I guess I'm just I just don't like the Browns. Their uniforms suck, right? Like, come on, Browns. Now I'm alienating the Cleveland fans.
Yeah,
it's more just playing with
Watson. Chopping up our base.
Yeah, I know. You're right. I should probably have both of them in there. So,
what is the name of this category? You down bad?
I changed it to life's tough to match the running back.
I haven't downloaded copy, so I didn't see it.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to quickly throw out, what if he's good? What if Drake May's good? Right? If he's good, we've seen it with Jaden Daniels, CJ Stroud. Jalen Polk's out there 100% of the snaps. Demario Douglas is the only thing we've seen on that team produce something. Maybe Hunter Henry every now and then, and obviously Stevenson. But in the passing game, it's very weird to not have at least one pass catcher from a team to at least be a flex-worthy play during bye weeks. We don't have that with New England right now. What if Drake May's good? I think it's going to be one of these two guys. So just want to throw that out there.
When's the last time we had that with New England at all?
I mean, Hunter Henry, man. Randy Moss in 2007.
Yeah.
Rob Gronkowski. I mean, yeah, you're right.
I'm just saying it's been a little while. The matchup's not great. I think both of these guys they're definitely get ahead of that waiver wire if you have a bench spot. If you have a guy that if Nico just went on IR or whatever, grab one of these guys and just wait and see. And I think it's not the best matchup to see it. You don't want to hold it against them too heavily, but I mean, they play Jacksonville the week after, that could be great. But I mean, it's going to be hard to start either one of these guys. Even they have to have a good game this week in order for you to feel good about even wide receiver for, flex type of conversation really in 2 weeks. What's that?
Not like a really good game, not like a 5 for 60 game, like a really good game. So I agree. This is definitely a stash. So I side, or I don't know if I did that, but so Darius Slayton's our next guy up. He was your Hail Mary pick. He finished as I think the wide receiver 7. And I went and looked because I haven't even checked. Tyrone Tracy, running back 16 by 0.1 point behind Javonte Williams to at least give me the tie and hit the
I saw
Mary.
that.
Damn it. But Darius Slayton, where should we put him? I mean, top 10 wide receiver. Malik Neighbors is out again. Who are they playing again? I forgot. Let me see. Playing the Bengals, which I think is a good matchup and a potential shootout. Like, where should we have Darius Slayton? Boom bust or like his own category?
Yeah, just the Darius Slayton category, I guess. Like, I don't know. I think you can start him in a pinch. Bye weeks and injuries are here. It's been the theme of the show. He was great last week, and I don't see what's any different about this week than last week, kind of a thing. Like,
yeah,
I think, or if anything, the matchup's probably a little bit better. Like Seattle's defense is pretty good in general. That's who they played last week. That's why I brought that up. So yeah, I think you can flex them this week if you're in a pinch, and you're not going to feel great about it, but yeah, the boom could happen again. And if he does it again, well, I don't know. I guess Malik would have to keep missing in order for us to. I was like, yeah, he does belong in that boom bust, but
maybe. I mean, he's a good player. I don't know why they don't use him more. So, like, he's a good player. He's a good receiver. So, I agree. I think you can flex him. 3 wide receiver flex and a flex, I think, is for sure. 2 wide receiver, it's a little bit, depends on who you have. But yeah, I mean, I like the usage for sure. And again, they might be chasing points. So, well, that's it. That is it for week 6. We chug along into week 7. Hopefully everyone wins their matchup. Help us get to 700 subscribers before or by the end of the month. So I think we're a little bit more than 50 away. I think we can do it. Appreciate everyone. Brian, any last words there?
No. Other than join the live show tomorrow. We're going to have a little bit more time than we usually do. So we should be able to get a few more questions in.
Absolutely. Yep. We'll go live and we'll answer whatever questions you have. Appreciate everyone. And we will see you all tomorrow morning for our cartoon show.